The Jeff Okudah era has come to a close. Wow.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's Locked On Lions, everybody, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Matt Dery with you. Thanks for checking us out here on a Tuesday, April 11th and a Wednesday, April 12th. Thank you for watching on YouTube, where you can subscribe and watch for free each and every day on the Locked On Lions YouTube channel. And it is your team every day as we talk Detroit Lions football, getting closer to the draft. We got a Mel Kiper 2-round mock draft that we want to get into a little bit later on. But the big story of the day, Jefe Okudah traded. We will discuss coming up momentarily right here on Locked On Lions. You can follow me on Twitter at Dery Speaks, D-E-R-Y Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, the Matt Dery Facebook fan page, and as well, thank you for watching on the Locked On Lions YouTube channel. There's a lot of different angles and a lot of different ways we could skin this cat today in the discussion about Jefe Okudah. Field Yates from ESPN, the first to report today that through Okudah's agent, Jefe Okudah has been traded. The Lions have sent the former number 3 overall pick from 2020 and soon-to-be fourth-year cornerback to the Atlanta Falcons for a 5th-round draft pick. And that's it. That's all you're getting for Jefe Okudah. The 3 years of Okudah in Detroit playing cornerback for the Honolulu Blue and Silver have come to an end. And again, there's a lot of different angles and a lot of different ways to look at it. Let me start with this. Number one, what an indictment. What an indictment of the Bob Quinn era here. All right? We can talk about Brad Holmes maybe not getting enough for him. Or, just a 5th-round pick, that's it. Why wouldn't the Lions just let him play out his 4th year? 5th-year option, all these things. We could get into all of that. But here's where I want to start as a Lions fan. Bob Quinn drafted Jefe Okudah number 3 overall 3 years ago. He took a cornerback from Ohio State. People liked, okay? But he took a cornerback, number 3 overall. That was not a home run pick. This is not a Sauce Gardner situation or anything like that. All right? This is not Charles Woodson coming out of college. This was Jefe Okudah. Highly touted, certainly. Talented player, absolutely. Nobody's saying he's not or wasn't at the time. But with people whispering his ear not to do it, Quinn did it anyway. And now, heading into year 4 of this kid's career, all Brad Holmes, his replacement as general manager, could do in order to get something for him is get a 5th-round pick for him after the general manager had to go out and sign not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 cornerbacks this offseason if you include Will Harris. He had to re-sign a guy that was a converted safety who's been playing cornerback. So Jefe Okudah, career coming to a close, and all you can get for him is a 5th-round pick, just means that Bob Quinn was so bad as a general manager. It's Matt Millen comparable. It is. At least Matt Millen drafted Calvin Johnson, who's as good a wide receiver as there ever was. Now, yes, Matt Millen took Big Mike Williams and Charles Rogers, and the list goes on and on. Joey Harrington. I get it. Right? Matt Millen stunk. Arguably the worst general manager of all time. Led a team that finished with an 0-16 record. Admitted afterwards, I shouldn't have done this. I wasn't good enough. Probably wasn't ready. Heck, he told Mr. Ford when he was hired, I'm probably not qualified. And the old man said, you're going to be fine. You got this. Bob Quinn has to be compared to Matt Millen. He has to. And I get it. Bob Quinn's record was 31-43-1. Bob Quinn was a GM of a team that went to the postseason years ago, when the Lions in 2017 were in the playoffs against Seattle under Jim Caldwell. I get it. Bob Quinn also hired arguably the worst coach in this era of NFL football in Matt Patricia, who right now I don't believe is even in the NFL. But Bill Belichick was asked about Patricia the other day. He's like, I don't know. Is he still with you guys? I don't know. Bob Quinn sucks. Wow, does he suck. His number 3 overall pick just got traded for a 5th round pick, and that's all you get for him. And again, Jeff Okudah is not horrible. He needs a fresh start. The Lions are obviously moving on without him. They were going to pick up his 5th-year option. They've got Emmanuel Mosley now, Cameron Sutton now, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson now, Will Harris, Chase Lucas, Jerry Jacobs. They've got 6 cornerbacks before we even get to the draft in a couple of weeks. They could add some more. So there was no spot on this team for Jeffrey Okudah. But man, did the Lions mess up the 2020 draft in taking him 3rd overall. The Lions took Aiden Hutchinson 2nd overall this past year, and look at the dividends that it paid. Now, I know it's 1 year. Maybe Aiden has a sophomore slump. I don't know. But this was a kid in Okudah, came in, played, struggled early, got hurt. Year 2, new regime, new staff, it's going to be different. Got hurt, missed the entire season. Comes back in year 3, looks pretty darn good at the start of last year. His first half was pretty darn good. Had the pick 6 against Hull of Fields and the Bears. Shut down Justin Jefferson. What was that, week 3? Held him to like 2 catches. We're just lauding Jeff Okudah. What was I saying here on Locked On Lions? Jeff Okudah has arrived. And then by the end of the season, he was sat out week 18 with an alleged leg injury. Just horrible. A 5th round pick. Now, here's how I look at it. I guess that's the best you could do. You knew you weren't going to pick up his 5th-year option. This was going to be his last year with the team. When was he going to play? And as you get closer to the draft, who knows what you were going to get. The Falcons, perfect spot, landing spot for him. The report from Field Yates said that Terry Fontenot and Brad Holmes had great conversations. That's the GM of the Falcons. And it was amicable, and both sides feel like they're happy. Lions get an extra 5th rounder, which the Falcons got in the Calvin Ridley trade with Jacksonville. And the Falcons get a guy that's playing for a contract that, for the first half of 2022, looked like a legitimate starting quarterback in this league. And he's still pretty young. But again, my biggest thought is just Quinn, taking him 3rd overall. What a ghastly mistake. And now Jeff Okudah's gone. So Jefe is no more in Detroit. And now that his number 1 is available, Jamison Williams, he already tweeted it. He wants that number 1. He wants that Uno back. He'll probably get it and wear it next year. So Jeff Okudah out of Detroit as the Lions get a 5th round pick for him. I have one more thought on this I want to bring up, and we'll do that coming up next on the Okudah situation. First, man, sometimes the mouse, I got to put some new batteries in this thing. Got to get some AAAs in here. But first, I want to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs start tonight. You want to get in on the action? No better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from money line to point spreads, which team will be cutting down the nets come June in the NBA Finals. NBA play-in games tonight. Heat are playing? I don't even remember. Heat and the Hawks, and it was one game. You know the Lakers are going to win. I think they're playing the Timberwolves. But get it going right now. The app is safe, secure, super easy to use. Don't miss your shot at that no sweat first bet. Up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockdown to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. One more note on Jefe Okudah. If you think that I am picking on him, you're mistaken. All right? It was never going to work with him here. Too much pressure, being taken number 3. Came to a team that was in disarray. And really the systems that he has played in. All right, so you got 1 year under Matt Patricia where they refused to ever let him play zone. And it was man coverage, man coverage, man coverage. And they threw a rookie out there in man coverage, and it didn't happen. Then he comes over to Aaron Glenn and the Lions defense. And look, Aaron Glenn is going to do a good job this year. I think Aaron Glenn, future head coach Aaron Glenn, we kind of kid, but I think he's a pretty good defensive coordinator. But again, in this system of Aaron Glenn's, I also don't think that fits kind of the Okudah style either, right? And how they play, and how aggressive they are at times. I think Jeff Okudah going down to Atlanta is going to do well. I think he was a victim of circumstance here. He was picked way too high. Expectations were too high. He came into the league, didn't have a training camp because of COVID. That first couple of years, the COVID situation, he needed camp, he needed OTAs, he needed the workouts, couldn't get them, wasn't even allowed around the building. And none of the players were. And I just think, I feel sorry for him. I do. I'm rooting for him to do well in Atlanta. He looked like a really good player the first 8-9 games last year. So I think it's there that he can perform in this league. I don't think he'll ever be a 1. I don't think he'll ever be the top guy. I don't think he'll ever be the shutdown corner where he was drafted. But I look at this situation with him going to Atlanta and getting a fresh start as being a great one for him. But I think this has never been a good fit for him here, ever. And he's not been on good defenses. He's not played with strong, safety play behind him. Albeit this year, Kirby Joseph kind of came on. Remember, Tracy Walker got hurt. Sean Elliott was fine. All right, but I think he's going to do well in Atlanta. Falcons have, until May 1st to pick up that 5th-year option. I'm not sure they're going to do that because you'd be paying him a lot of money, but he gets an opportunity this year to audition and get a fat contract if he plays well. And I think he's capable. He's only 24, 25 years of age. But it's just never going to work here, ever. And that's not on Okudah. That's on Bob Quinn, 100%. Just horrible. All right, Mel Kiper had let me do this before we do the Mel Kiper 2-round mock draft. Tom Pelissero reporting today, CJ Stroud is coming to Detroit this week to work out for the Lions. Lions, of course, hold the number 6 pick. I don't see any scenario where the Ohio State quarterback is going to fall to 6. I don't even think CJ Stroud's fallen to 3 if the Lions wanted to move up and trade with Arizona to get to Stroud at 3. I think Stroud's going either 1 to Carolina or 2 to Houston. I just don't see a scenario. But it's interesting that the Lions are going to bring C.J. Stroud in here and use one of their 30 visits on Stroud. What's even more interesting is that they use one of their 30 visits on Hendon Hooker as well, the quarterback from Tennessee. Did anybody watch On the Clock last night at 8:30 on ESPN? It was either ESPN or ESPN2. It was this draft special, and it was a half hour dedicated to Hendon Hooker. He was mic'd up. They had Peyton Manning mic'd up. They had his parents mic'd up at some games this year. And I watched the On the Clock 30 minutes special on Hendon Hooker, the Tennessee quarterback coming off of a torn ACL, who's 25 years of age, by the way. I watched that special. Did anybody feel the same way I did, that if Hendon Hooker is there at 48, somehow, and I don't know if he will be, that Brad Holmes would draft him? He seems like a tough, just salt-of-the-earth kid. He just seems like a lion. What a nice kid. Just well-mannered, leader of men, Great guy in the locker room and in the huddle. The Tennessee team was rallying around him. They were off to a great start last year. He tears his ACL in the South Carolina game in November. He's probably not going to be ready for the season this year and all that, at least at the start of the year. But man, was he awesome to watch and to learn more about on that special. And I just could see a scenario where maybe the Lions finally pull the trigger and draft a quarterback as a developmental piece. I could see Hendon Hooker coming here. I really could. Now again, 25 coming off a torn ACL is not the greatest resume, but from a culture standpoint and, football culture that the Lions talk about, I can totally see it. Totally see it. All right, I promised you the Mel Kiper 2-round mock draft that came out today at ESPN.com. We will do that coming up next. But today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. You've heard me talk about this mobile game app. A lot of fun to play. And right now with the draft here, you want to do this. Ultimate Football GM, you're responsible for controlling the destiny of your own franchise. Right? If you've ever dreamed of becoming an NFL GM, you can do it with Ultimate Football GM. You hire coaches and coordinators, you trade players, and you navigate your franchise through free agency and, of course, the draft. All the ups and downs of the season. It's a lot of fun. It's cool. All of this is done in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Football GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go and as you want, when you want to. We've created a Locked On League for you to compete against Locked On fans all over the world. Can you be the ultimate Locked On Football GM champ? Choose the Locked On League in the app to join so you can create your football dynasty. Go to Locked On Lions listeners. We got a 100% free boost to your franchise when you use the promo Locked On in all caps in the game store. That's Locked On in all caps. Make sure you check it out today. Download the game by going to ultimate-gm.com or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate Football GM. Start your dynasty today. All right, so the latest Mel Kiper draft expert mock draft from ESPN.com came out today. It's a 2-round mock, and here we go. Not a surprise, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud go 1-2. Tennessee trades up from 11 to 3, gives up a first-round pick this year, number 11, first-round pick next year, first-round pick 3 years from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and some other additional draft capital to move up to take Anthony Richardson at number 3. How about that? Will Levis, number 4 to the Colts, not a surprise. Number 5, the Seahawks take Jalen Carter, the interior defensive lineman from Georgia. Seahawks in desperate need for nose tackles, 3 techniques, and interior D linemen. That leaves the Lions at number 6, and let me tell you this. I was scrolling down the mock draft at ESPN.com, and I knew when I saw Jalen Carter at 5, I already knew who the Lions pick was. I didn't even have to guess. I didn't even have to scroll or read or anything. The Lions ran up the card for Aiden Hutchinson so fast last year, and they would do it again this year for Will Anderson. And that's who the pick is. The edge rusher from Alabama. Could you imagine Will freaking Anderson, arguably the best defensive player in the draft, doesn't have the warts Jalen Carter has, dropping to number 6? Whew. Will Anderson on one side, Aiden Hutchinson on the other. Sign me up. That would be awesome. With a number 18 pick in the first round, the Lions' second first-round pick, Mel has them taking Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas. Again, I'm not crazy about a running back at number 18. I love Bijan. DeAndre Swift in the last year of his deal. From a headliner standpoint, if you're telling fans after one round you're getting Will Anderson and Bijan Robinson, arguably the best 2 players on their respective sides of the ball in this draft, people have said Bijan Robinson's the best offensive player in this draft. Better than the quarterback. Some have said that. Some have said Will Anderson's the best defensive player. That would be pretty remarkable. I could see a role for Bijan, but more in the future than this year. Again, I'd rather go offensive line or something like that at 18, but whatever. Second round at 48, Kiper has the Lions taking Iowa linebacker Jack Campbell. We've seen a lot of this. I don't get this pick, and I still don't understand why people think Jack Campbell's coming here. Is it because he's the tough white guy and it's Chris Spielman, white linebacker? I don't know. But the Lions have Rodriguez, Anzalone, Derek Barnes. When would Jack Campbell get on the field? You know the Lions are playing a 4-2-5. So I'm a little mystified by that. I think he's a really good football player, but I don't know if that's a great fit here. And then at 55, Jalen Hyatt, the wide receiver from Tennessee. Again, you would be talking about in the first 4 picks, edge rusher, wide receiver, running back, and linebacker. No offensive lineman. I'd be stunned if the Lions didn't take an interior D lineman or an offensive guard in their first 4 picks. Hyatt's got a lot of speed. He's a really good player. You would add to the wide receiver room, which is pretty filled up right now. But again, Marvin Jones on a 1-year deal. Do we know if Quintez Cephas is coming back and can be healthy? So I found that pick to be a little interesting. Also, the Lions could use a tight end. So not taking a tight end in the first 4 would surprise me as well. But again, Brad Holmes has surprised me in the past, especially when he's loaded up on defensive line. That'll do it for this Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for subscribing and watching us for free on the Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Your team every day. The Detroit Lions are right here.